cozy mystery sleep story for adults. Good evening. Tonight, settle comfortably beneath your blankets. Allow your shoulders to soften. Let your breathing become slow and easy. And together, we'll travel to a peaceful coastal town on the rocky shores of Maine, where rain falls gently against old windows, fireplaces glow warmly through the night, and a century-old mystery waits patiently to be discovered. Our story begins on a cool autumn evening. The rain had been falling since afternoon. Not a storm. Just a steady, comforting rain. The kind that made people stay indoors with books, warm tea, and soft blankets. Emma Parker loved evenings like this. At 32 years old, she worked as the town librarian in the small seaside community of Harbor's End. It was the kind of town where everyone knew each other. Where fishermen greeted each other by name. Where the bakery owner always remembered your favorite pastry. And where the lighthouse stood watch over everything. The lighthouse sat atop Blackstone Cliff. Its white tower rose above the ocean like a silent guardian. Every night its golden beam swept across the sea. Back and forth. Back and forth. A familiar sight that comforted everyone in town. Emma could see it from her cottage window. She often watched it while reading before bed. Tonight was no different. A fire crackled softly in her stone fireplace. A kettle steamed gently on the stove. And an old mystery novel rested open in her lap. Everything felt peaceful. Until she heard a strange sound. Creak. Emma looked up. The sound seemed to come from beneath the floor. She listened. The cottage became quiet again. Only rain tapped against the windows. Perhaps the old house was settling. After all, the cottage was nearly 100 years old. She returned to her book. Then the sound came again. Creak. This time it was louder. Emma set her book aside. Curiosity slowly replaced comfort. Taking a lantern from the table, she walked across the room. The wooden floorboards groaned beneath her feet. Nothing unusual there. Old houses always made noises. Yet something felt different. Near the fireplace, one floorboard seemed slightly raised. Only by a fraction. Enough to notice. Emma knelt beside it. The lantern cast warm golden light across the wood. Carefully, she pressed her fingers against the edge. To her surprise, the board shifted. She blinked. Then gently lifted it. Beneath the floorboard was a small hidden compartment. Inside rested a weathered wooden box. Emma's heart quickened. Not from fear. From excitement. The pleasant excitement of discovering something forgotten. The box was covered in dust. Its brass latch had darkened with age. She carefully carried it to the table. Outside, rain continued its soft rhythm. Inside, the fire crackled peacefully. For a moment she simply stared at the box. Who had hidden it? Why? How long had it been there? Finally she opened the latch. Inside were several folded letters, a small brass key, and a leather-bound journal. The journal appeared oldest. Its cover was worn smooth by time. The pages had turned yellow. Emma opened the first page carefully. Elegant handwriting filled the paper. At the very top was a date. October 17, 1928. Nearly 100 years ago. Beneath the date were words that immediately caught her attention. If the lighthouse ever goes dark, the promise must be remembered. Emma read the sentence twice. Then 3 times. The lighthouse ever goes dark. What promise? She leaned closer. The firelight danced across the pages. Outside, the lighthouse beam swept through the rain. Steady as always. Emma continued reading. The journal belonged to a man named Samuel Whitaker. According to the first entries, Samuel had served as assistant lighthouse keeper nearly a century earlier. His writing was thoughtful and calm. He described daily life in Harbor's End. Foggy mornings. Fishing boats leaving before sunrise. Children playing along the shore. The smell of salt carried by ocean winds. Emma smiled as she read. Some things hadn't changed much at all. Page after page revealed small details of life long ago. Yet every few entries Samuel mentioned the same thing. A promise. Never explaining it completely. Only hinting at it. The promise remains safe. The keeper understands the promise. One day someone else may need to remember. Emma felt herself becoming increasingly curious. She turned another page. And another. Hours seemed to disappear. The rain continued. The fire burned lower. The cottage remained warm and peaceful. Finally she reached an entry dated November 3, 1928. The handwriting looked slightly hurried. Tonight the fog arrived before sunset. Visibility nearly vanished. Keeper Thomas says the sea remembers more than people do. Emma frowned. Interesting. She kept reading. The promise must survive another winter. The box is prepared. The journal will remain hidden until needed. Emma froze. The box. This box. The very one she had discovered. A chill, not unpleasant, but exciting, moved through her. Samuel had hidden this journal. Perhaps in this very cottage. Nearly 100 years ago. And somehow it had remained untouched. Until tonight. Emma glanced around the room. The old cottage suddenly felt connected to another era. She imagined Samuel sitting beside a similar fireplace. Listening to rain. Writing by lantern light. Wondering who might someday read his words. She felt strangely honored. Outside, the lighthouse beam passed across her window. A golden flash. Then darkness. Then another flash. Reliable. Comforting. Emma continued reading. Near the back of the journal, a folded map slipped from between the pages. She unfolded it carefully. The map showed Harbor's End. But not the modern town. The Harbor's End of 1928. Several locations had been marked with small circles. One circle surrounded the lighthouse. Another surrounded the old harbor. A third surrounded a building Emma recognized immediately. The library. Her library. Beside the library mark was a handwritten note. Second clue remains among the forgotten stories. Emma sat upright. A clue. This wasn't merely a journal anymore. It appeared to be part of a mystery. A mystery deliberately designed to be solved. She felt a smile spread across her face. For years she had loved mystery novels. Now she seemed to have found a real one. A peaceful mystery. The best kind. No danger. No villains. Only secrets waiting patiently through time. The grandfather clock in the corner chimed softly. Midnight. Emma hadn't realized how late it had become. The fire was now glowing embers. The rain had become gentler. Sleepiness slowly began wrapping around her thoughts. She closed the journal carefully. The brass key remained inside the box. Small. Simple. Old. What did it open? Another question. Another piece of the puzzle. Tomorrow she would visit the library. Perhaps she could discover what Samuel meant by the forgotten stories. Perhaps another clue waited there. For now, though, the mystery could rest. And so could she. Emma carried the journal upstairs to her bedroom. The sound of rain followed her. Soft. Steady. Relaxing. She placed the journal beside her bed. Then paused at the window. Far away, the lighthouse still shone through the darkness. Its beam swept slowly across the sea. Faithful as ever. Keeping watch. Keeping its promise. Whatever that promise might be. Emma smiled. Tomorrow she would begin searching for answers. Tomorrow she would follow the map. Tomorrow the mystery would continue. But tonight, the lighthouse stood quietly beneath the rain. The ocean whispered against the shore. And Harbor's End drifted peacefully into sleep. Good evening. As you settle into your blankets once more, allow the day to drift away. The rain continues to fall softly over Harbor's End. The lighthouse still shines faithfully across the dark Atlantic waters. And Emma Parker is about to follow the first clue left behind nearly 100 years ago. The morning arrived wrapped in fog. Not the thick kind that hides everything. Just enough to soften the edges of the world. Emma walked through town carrying Samuel Whitaker's journal in her bag. The streets glistened from last night's rain. Shop owners swept the doorsteps. Fishermen unloaded their early catches. And above it all, the lighthouse stood silently on Blackstone Cliff. Watching. Waiting. As though it knew something Emma did not. The library occupied one of the oldest buildings in Harbor's End. Its red brick walls had stood for generations. Thousands of stories lived inside. Most people came for novels. Others came for newspapers. A few came simply because they enjoyed the quiet. Emma unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The familiar scent of books welcomed her. Old paper, wood polish, a hint of coffee from the staff room. Home. For several hours she completed her usual work. Returning books, helping visitors, organizing shelves. Yet all day her thoughts kept returning to Samuel's map. Second clue remains among the forgotten stories. What exactly did that mean? Finally, after the library closed, Emma carried the journal into the archive room. Few visitors ever entered this section. The room held records dating back more than a century. Town newspapers, photographs, letters, ship manifests, historical documents. If a clue existed anywhere, it would be here. She unfolded the map across a wooden table. The mark over the library seemed to point toward the archive section. Emma studied it carefully. Then she noticed something she had missed before. A tiny symbol. A small lantern drawn beside one shelf number. Shelf 18. Row C. Emma's heartbeat quickened. She walked directly to the location. Dusty volumes filled the shelves. Most hadn't been touched in years. Some perhaps decades. Row C. Shelf 18. There. A collection of local history books. Nothing unusual. At least not at first glance. Emma pulled several books free. Behind them sat a narrow wooden box. Almost hidden from view. She stared. Then laughed softly. Samuel really had planned this carefully. The box was smaller than the one in her cottage. Inside rested a single envelope. Its paper had yellowed with age. Across the front was written, "For the finder of the promise." Emma carefully opened it. Inside she discovered an old photograph. The image showed 5 people standing beside the lighthouse. One man wore a lighthouse keeper's uniform. Another looked younger. Perhaps Samuel. The others appeared to be townspeople. All of them smiled. On the back someone had written, "Winter of 1928. The Promise Keepers." Promise Keepers. Emma read the words again. The mystery deepened. Beneath the photograph lay another note. "The sea remembers kindness long after people forget. Visit the harbor master." Emma smiled. Another clue. Another step. The sun was beginning to set when she left the library. The harbor sat at the center of town. Fishing boats rocked gently in their slips. Seagulls drifted overhead. The smell of salt filled the air. The harbor master's office occupied a small white building overlooking the docks. Inside, old photographs covered nearly every wall. The harbor master, an elderly man named Walter Briggs, looked up as Emma entered. Walter had lived in Harbor's End his entire life. If anyone knew local history, it was him. "Emma," he said warmly. "What brings you here?" Emma hesitated. Then she showed him the photograph. The moment Walter saw it, his expression changed. Not fear. Recognition. Deep recognition. As if he were looking at an old friend. "Where did you find this?" he asked quietly. Emma explained everything. The hidden box. The journal. The map. The clues. Walter listened carefully. When she finished, he stared toward the harbor. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he smiled. My grandfather told me stories about this. Emma sat forward. What stories? Walter leaned back. The Promise Keepers. The name sounded almost magical. Outside, waves lapped softly against the docks. Inside, evening sunlight filled the room. My grandfather said there were 5 of them, Walter continued. The lighthouse keeper, his assistant, the schoolteacher, the harbor master, and the town doctor. Emma looked at the photograph. 5 people. Exactly as Walter described. But what was the promise? She asked. Walter shook his head. That part was lost. Lost. Another mystery. Yet not entirely. Walter opened an old drawer. After searching a moment, he removed a small brass compass. Its surface had darkened with age. Engraved upon the back were words. For those who remember. Emma's eyes widened. Another clue. Walter chuckled softly. My grandfather always said this belonged to the Promise Keepers. He handed it to her. The compass felt surprisingly heavy. Solid. Important. As if carrying the weight of old stories. Inside the lid was another note. Tiny. Carefully folded. Emma opened it. The handwriting matched Samuel's journal. The third clue waits where every journey ends and every journey begins. Emma immediately understood. The lighthouse. Ships left guided by the lighthouse. Ships returned guided by the lighthouse. Every journey ended and began there. Walter smiled knowingly. I think you're headed up the cliff. The sky had begun turning orange and gold as Emma left the harbor. She followed the winding path toward Blackstone Cliff. The ocean stretched endlessly beside her. Waves rolled against rocks below. The air smelled fresh and clean. Far ahead stood the lighthouse. For years she had admired it from a distance. Tonight she approached it with new eyes. As she climbed higher, the town grew smaller behind her. Lights began appearing in cottage windows. Evening was arriving. The lighthouse keeper greeted her warmly. The keeper, a cheerful woman named Rachel, listened with fascination as Emma explained the mystery. You'd better come inside, Rachel said. I think there's something you should see. They climbed the spiral staircase. Upward. Step after step. Past thick stone walls. Past narrow windows overlooking the sea. Until they reached the lantern room. The view stole Emma's breath away. Ocean in every direction. Golden sunset on the horizon. The town glowing below. And the lighthouse lamp shining proudly above. Rachel opened an old cabinet tucked into the wall. Most people never noticed it. Inside sat dozens of historical records. Logbooks. Maps. Maintenance journals. And one small wooden chest. Emma immediately recognized the brass key from Samuel's box. Her heart skipped. This was what the key opened. Carefully she removed the key from her pocket. The lock clicked. The chest opened. Inside rested another journal. And a sealed envelope. Across the envelope were written 4 simple words. The promise is near. Emma looked out across the darkening ocean. The mystery was finally beginning to reveal itself. Yet the biggest secret remained hidden. What promise had united these 5 people? Why had they hidden clues throughout the town? And why did they believe someone in the future would need to remember? The answers were close now. Very close. Outside, evening settled gently over harbor's end. The lighthouse beam began its nightly journey across the sea. Back and forth. Back and forth. Steady. Calm. Faithful. Exactly as it had been for generations. Emma held the envelope carefully in her hands. Tomorrow she would open it. Tomorrow she would learn more. Tomorrow the mystery would continue. For tonight, however, the lighthouse kept watch. The ocean whispered below. And the town drifted peacefully towards sleep. End of part 2. Next. Part 3. The Promise Beneath the Lighthouse, final part.